Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another edition of CHP Talks. I'm here with a local guest this week, Mr. Randy Murray from Smithers in my neck of the woods. And I've known Randy over the last couple of years. We've gotten to know each other through the freedom movement. You can see on his hat there, he lifts up freedom as a value that is worth pursuing. And I'm going to give you a little introduction. First of all, Randy, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for allowing me the opportunity, Rod.
So Randy Murray has served 3 terms. He was elected for 3 terms, so 10 years in the regional district governance of the Thompson-Nicola Regional District. He served 2 years as the CEO board chair and 8 years as a regional district director. He was a director on the board at Thompson Rivers University for 3 years at Kamloops, and he served on various smaller boards and community projects over about 20 years. He had a 25-year career in operational and emergency management at multiple levels with Fortis Natural Gas Utility, the final 3 years as a business design team manager. And they produce new technology design and delivery systems, implementation, administration, management, educational program development, and so on. And also instruction. He was collaborating with IBM, Accenture, and SAP. He ran multiple small businesses for 10 years, and he was the owner and operator of a mechanical contracting company. That was 10 years. And also ran a mobile home park for 12 years. So, Randy, you've got a lot of experience in various levels, and I've gotten to know you through our work together in the Bulkley Valley here, Smithers and Telkwa, Houston, and Hazelton, basically that district, in terms of seeking to prevent our Canadian constitutional rights, our civil rights, our human rights from being taken away. So we have worked together to protect freedom of speech, freedom of choice for medical procedures and that type of thing, and honesty and transparency in government, both federal and provincial and even municipal. We've had our struggles there. So anyway, thank you. Welcome to the show. And I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then we'll get into some questions.
Well, thanks, Rod. You know, we look back on our life and our service, and it seems exhausting, but at the time, it was easy and welcomed. And I think you and I've talked a bit about the value of stepping forward as an individual, as a person in Canada, and serving on a board, whether that's a federal, provincial, regional, civic, whatever it is, any kind of volunteer organization. Our country needs us to be strong and whole. So I've welcomed the opportunity to do that, and I certainly look forward to anyone else stepping forward that's willing to. At this point in my career, I'm quite happy to build systems and programs that will help keep Canada strong and free, and not stand in front of the corporate media anymore.
Yeah, well, in the last few years, censorship of truth and reality has become such a problem in Canada, and even in our local community. I know I used to have quite a few letters printed in the local paper. For some reason, ever since the COVID collapse of our society and the restrictions that came on, I don't seem to get letters into the paper anymore. And some of the information that you and I are very aware of in terms of what's rolled out over the past several years has not come to public attention through our local newspaper, through the national media, and it's quite concerning. And even with our elected representatives, it seems like there is a one-way information flow. And try as we might to get some new information into the discussion, it seems to fall on deaf ears. So what are we doing about that? I know you've got some projects underway, and what's the most current project that you're working on today?
Well, I would say, Rod, there's 2 that I'd like to mention as we talk today. The first one is, just as you said, it's so hard to get the truth. And we have to dig now to get it, and it's being obfuscated and delayed when folks are trying to find it. So one of the initiatives is the Freedom of Information Library that we've created for Canada. The idea is that anyone who's a registered user, lawyers, others, user groups, can go on there, sign up as a registered user, and if they have submitted an FOI to an agency and gotten a really interesting piece of information back, then they can put it right into the library. And so the hope is that as this cross-pollinates throughout Canada, that folks who are looking for information, whether that be medical or like media releases or governmental documentation on how they're going about their business, will be able to look at it from a cross-provincial basis and be more efficient in learning what others have acquired and already, not reinventing the wheel. They've already found it. Here's a spot you can go and search for it. And I could pop it up just for a quick minute if you'd like to see what it looks like online, Rod. Please
pop it up. Some of our listeners will not see it, of course, if they're listening to the audio podcast, but you can walk us through it. And so freedom of information, we hear that phrase from time to time, freedom of information request. It's quite often a request made of a government agent to tell us something that we have not been told, so to find out what went on with email exchanges or other communications that took place behind closed doors, and we as citizens, the public, sometimes only get a pablum version. We just find out what the government has decided to do, so-called on our behalf, but sometimes the information that went on behind those scenes is very important, and we do have access to that. So you can explain that a little bit better in terms of how we gain access to information that the government doesn't necessarily want to tell us.
Right, and that extends to all levels of government, and it also extends to a defined group. There are certain groups that are, you would, I guess, think it in the characteristic of, is that group a public operating entity? So university boards, medical associations, anyone that's out there in the public interest and serving the public interest can have a freedom of information request submitted and a request put in. So as we're gaining and gathering those, Rod, we have a library, as you can see here. I'll just click on it quickly. It's under the library and search tab. And there's a spot here you can click. You can actually choose by category, status, province, etc. You can click search with all of those defaults there. And this next screen shows you a list of top level informational pieces that key you and allow you to window into different categories and statuses and agencies that library entries have allowed for. So that's kind of the search component of the library. There's also linked in here 300,000 Freedom of Information records are from Secret Canada, which is the Globe and Mail cleaned and produced documentation. So in here, as you can see, there, I just clicked into it, and there's a link for British Columbia. There's 68,204 Freedom of Information requests logged within here. So we can search, we can define it by city, and you can look for information to see, has somebody already asked for the information that I'm looking for? And then if you don't find it in there, and you can also quite easily, I'm just trying to get out of this one here, I'll go back there. You can quite easily come to the library here. We've got a Freedom of Information meeting schedule, and I'll pop that up. So anyone that's thinking of completing a Freedom of Information request, and any citizen can go in here. There's drop-in meetings for our Freedom of Information team. The schedule is there. There's a Zoom link to register, and you can get help with it. You can get help with entering your Freedom of Information request. So I think I'll leave it there, Rod. There's a lot in there, and I encourage people to go to the Freedom of Information Library, all spelled out in one long word, .com or .ca, and you will certainly find much more in there.
Excellent. So Freedom of Information Library, one long word, .ca, and that will take you to that source. That sounds like a good place if you're having trouble sleeping at night. You got 300,000 documents you could review. Although
Yeah,
they say,
300,000. Yeah. Yeah.
looking at a computer screen is not a good way to go to sleep, but some of those documents, no doubt, are detailed. And thank you for doing that. That's tremendous. And that committee is a subcommittee of BC Rising. Do you want to say a little bit about the our committee that you've invited me to serve on? And it's a great committee, meets weekly, BC Rising. Tell us about that.
Yeah, bcrising.ca, an initiative started by a couple of real strong independent women in Kelowna, Erica and Lisa, who have really pulled together an amazing opportunity for British Columbians to take action. And there are 5 committees, I think, at work there now, which is the 15-minute city committee, the one I'm involved with, which is the election watch and readiness committee, that kind of the next topic I'm going to talk about fits into, but isn't under. And, I think there are 3 more there too, that when you go in there, you'll have a good look at it and have an opportunity to see it. And every Wednesday night, as you mentioned, at 7:30 p.m. every second week. I think we just had one here this week, so it won't be for the next week, but the one after, before Christmas. And you can go on there. I think the registration page right now has a whole bunch of things you can click to volunteer. But if you just go in there, register, you'll get information on how to click into the link for that Zoom. And it's just fantastic. We had close to 100 people last Wednesday night, which was excellent way to share information.
Yeah, that was a tremendous, interesting topic, talking about the NCI and some very good perspectives on a lot of these issues. And under BC Rising, I do sit on the Bill 36 committee. I can't say that I'm one of the movers and shakers. I find it very interesting, but there are people that are doing a lot of work in that particular department, tackling this Bill 36 in British Columbia. So excellent. And so how would they get the invitation or the application to get on a BC Rising call?
Well, as I said, it's open to anyone who wants to, but you would just need to go to bcrising.ca, and on the home page, there's a button to click there to join. And by clicking that button and joining, then you'll be on the mailing list to get the Zoom links from then on.
Okay, bcrising.ca.
Yeah, perfect.
And freedomofinformationlibrary.ca, and then you've got another URL you're going to tell us about, which is very exciting. And go ahead and talk about this pledge that you're.
Yeah, let me just take a minute and introduce it, Rod. Having been involved in politics and come up against some of the walls and the lobby groups and some of the political voting that goes along political lines and the voting that happens as a result of party dictates and ideologies. And I really felt, looking at what's happening within Canada and our provinces right now, that we need something in this country that engages the people of Canada in a way that allows them to effortlessly take advantage of our rights and our freedoms and our ability to window into what decisions are being made, not only from a perspective of, which has always been the case, after the fact, but from a perspective of how can we get people the information they need when bills are being brought forward as motions, when they are being discussed at first reading, so that we can then address whether this is a good thing or whether it's a failure of our representatives to support us in our rights and freedoms, and what is the lens they need to look through that with. So it's a 2-part initiative. The first part is that there's a very simple 10-second pledge that any Canadian citizen can take on the site that just says, this is important to me. This is a fundamental natural law or right that I have, and I want that supported by my representative. So I encourage everyone out there to jump on board and just enter their quick 10-second pledge that says, yes, this is what I stand for. I stand for Canada. I stand for the people of Canada and what we've always had as unalienable rights. And those rights, as you know, Rod, whether you consider them God-given or whether you consider them to be inherently sovereign, whichever way you kind of look at it, they're not bestowed, they are not given, they are. And so this is a fundamental critical issue. So
I think
that's the first part of it.
Yeah, they're not given by government. They're not. We don't receive them from any elected representative just because a politician promises some kind of a right or freedom. If it's a true right or freedom, the politician has no inherent right to either give or deny that freedom. It exists within us already, and the politician can either honor that right and freedom, or he can violate it. And when he violates it, he violates the principles of our representative democracy. So,
yes, correct. And the second part of the pledge is for politicians, and it's for them to take a similar kind of stand to say, yes, we stand with the people of Canada in this regard. And to that effect, we are creating, which is going to be a national effort starting in BC, because it looks like our election is coming upon us fairly quickly, performance reporting for politicians at all levels, from federal to school board. And we have tremendous support. I'm just blown away by the number of people who are standing shoulder to shoulder with me. And I'm not talking about just Canadian citizens that are lining up. I'm talking about people with the ability in the cyber world, in the tech world, in the app world, in ways that we're going to be able to find out this information very, very quickly in a streamlined way, and create from that a simple report card that will be available online and sent out to anyone who's signing up for the pledge, that says, were you aware that your politician is in the process of making a decision that does not support your rights and freedoms? Or it's a two-way street, Rod. Yeah. I'm really happy about the fact that we'll be sending information out saying, we want to celebrate the fact that your politician is one of those people who really, really care about us. Exactly. So it goes both ways. So would you like me to just show you a little bit about that website?
Please share. Share it on the screen. And Randy is going to a site. The URL is F as in Frank, FP Pledge. So Foundational Principles Pledge, but fppledge.ca. And it's a great site that is in development still, but is already being used. I've signed up. So go ahead and tell us about it. For those who are just listening in, you don't see this on your screen, you need to get to a computer at your nearest opportunity and look up fppledge.ca.
Right, thanks, Rod. And the FP, the foundational principles, was key. And many Canadians and politicians that I spoke with were key and instrumental in the decision around the title. It's foundational. There are principles we need to live up to, and people need to stand behind those. So it was pretty clear. And I will just add too that these days, we've got a whole team that's working on the Gen Z side of all of this, that's talking about how we make sure this is available on mobile devices. And if you window into this on your mobile phone, as Rod said, on fppledge.ca, it's very, very attractive, and I think it's click friendly, and you can window into the menus quite easy there. So please do that as well. So yeah, the homepage, Rod, says it all, really. It's save ourselves. You have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help the child in a plane crash. So this is what we have to do as Canadians. We need to show that there's strength. And it's all men and women in Canada, elected reps and politicians and political candidates can sign this pledge. And it's simple. So there are 3 boxes on the main homepage. One will tell you all about the pledge. It'll define it for you. The middle one, it gives you a window into the representatives who endorsed the pledge so far, and politicians can click the button at the bottom and sign the pledge themselves. The voting power, as you can see there, is an ever increasing number as people start to sign up. And as you said, Rod, this is just days old now, and it has not had a full rollout yet. The full rollout from corporate media, alternate media, multiple social media perspective is targeted for January 1st, and that is coming together. And so anyone who wants to sign the pledge can do so immediately on the homepage. It's right there, or you can click the button that takes you to the pledge to sign here. So let me just tell you how quickly that is to do. It really says, I hereby declare that I'll hold all elected representatives accountable for the decisions they make and expect them to uphold and protect my inherent sovereign rights and freedoms. Pretty simple. I'll lawfully, and lawful is important, resist using reasonable and appropriate measures any failure to protect and maintain my rights and freedoms. And that's something we all need to do. We need to show that we stand up for this. And I'll support those standing with me in safeguarding those inherent rights and freedoms. So that's a simple thing. And I think most folks can get behind that. Your name, first and last, email, a phone number, and a postal code. And we will send you up alerts and updates, or perhaps the occasional newsletter, but the alerts and updates is a critical part here. If you're willing, and I hope most will be, to click yes, please keep me current, then your phone and your email will be excellent ways to get that information out to you. So having said that, let's just have a quick look at the politician's pledge. So I'll click and window into that one. So, you know, I really admire, I think, this statement that is how quickly freedom erodes without constant legal, social, political struggle. And we've seen that in the last 3 years, just how devastatingly difficult it has been to really fight against that and to make sure that our rights are enshrined and maintained. So we're asking politicians to put their first and last name, their picture, their, you know, who they represent, whether it's an Indigenous, provincial, federal, regional, where are they lining up, which province are they in, and if there's a party applicable, great. You know, when I was in regional politics, Rod, for 10 years, it wasn't an issue for me because there was no pension.
Right.
There was no political affiliation, and all I had to do was represent those folks who wanted me to represent them. And this is the strategy I think we all need to employ and change the way that government is done in Canada. So then you're either an MLA, an MP, you're representing a riding, they have email and phone number. And in this case, you know, are you an elected candidate or an incumbent, and a currently elected or candidate, and when will you take office? And we're only asking them something simple. You know, will you stand against any existing or proposed action or law initiated inside or outside of Canada that may compromise the inherent sovereign rights and freedoms of Canadians? That's the statement. But it also goes on to say that they understand that by taking this pledge, it encourages the Canadians that stand for this pledge to stand with them. And so pretty simple stuff when you really boil it down. But inside here, there's a privacy statement. There's a mission. If you want to know exactly what we stand for, it's holding all elected representatives accountable. And we're going to be evaluating them and their decision-making process viewed through the lens of rights and freedoms. So I'll let everybody get in there and have a look at that, Rod. I won't go too much farther. But what I will say about that is that, you know, the lens that we are going to be giving the performance evaluations through is, number one, every time a politician is taking a stand or communicating or giving a speech, are they thinking about, does this support the Canadian people's rights and freedoms? The second one is it cost effective? Or maybe you could even say the second one is it needed? And the third one is it cost effective? That's a pretty simple lens, and we need to institute that throughout all of our political decision-making process. It's an uphill battle because we've been fighting this kind of slow erosion of government and decision-making processes for so long, and the infiltration we see now within city councils, municipal councils, and federal of agencies and agents that are carrying information forward that does not support our rights and freedoms and trying to bring in a totalitarian system. So we can do this. We can take back what is rightfully ours. And, you know, I guess the issue is we have a BC election. We have 87 MLAs. They're all going to go on the list here. There are 2 lists. And, you know, I encourage you to go in and have a look. One of the lists is politicians who have taken this pledge so far. And thank you, Rod. You're one of them. I really appreciate that. and appreciate you, one Canadian to another. And the other list is characterized with the title that says elected representatives that have yet to sign. So we're going to encourage everybody to get their representatives to sign on to this list. And other than that, I would say the whole philosophy is to everyone in Canada, come out, get humble, and do better.
Yeah.
And we can do this. Thanks, Rod.
Very good. Well, Randy, if we had this in place and politicians had been taking it seriously, and the people of Canada, frankly, who some of whom don't even bother to vote. But if I notice in the pledge side for the citizens pledge is I'm not only going to vote for people that represent rights and freedoms, but I'm going to hold them accountable. That means when your MLA, your MP, your mayor, your councillor lets you down, or lets the people of Canada down, betrays your trust, that you actually take some steps to let them know. And of course, when they do something right, you should also let them know. That's maybe even more important, to let them know when they're doing something right. But for too long.
Yeah, and if I could offer a bit on that, Rod, just quickly, one of the key performance metric deliveries is that folks who sign up as a citizen of Canada, or I'm sorry, not citizen, but as a person within Canada, will get an alert that says you can come to the site, have a look, here's something new. There's also going to be downloadable documents that on the site that will be basically, I'll call it a report, and they will be in color codes. So the report will be green. Here's the report that you can print off that says my politician is doing an excellent job in relation to all of these decisions that have been made. And there would be a yellow card or handout that says, we've got some work to do here. There's some wavering. And there's red that says, absolutely, this has been a big mistake. This politician has not honored us. And so the idea with that, Rod, is that those handouts will be available for people anywhere in Canada or BC to print off, to take them to the event you're going to take them outside the politician's office to celebrate them or to help them understand, and also to take to the staffer level, take it into the offices. We're going to be discussing this with those people who, kind of bring policy recommendations forward to those who make decisions, because often that's where the critical decisions happen. And so there's a strategy behind this. There's a huge build going, and I just couldn't be more excited to see this happen.
Yeah, excellent. And there are many influences, many pressures bearing on politicians. But if, as I started to say, if they had followed this, signed this pledge and taken it seriously, and the people of Canada had held them accountable, we would live in a different kind of a country today. We wouldn't have these threats to our rights and freedoms and to our sovereignty, individual sovereignty, our national sovereignty, our prosperity that we have today. And Canada is under siege. And I thank you for giving us citizens some tools that we can hopefully claw our way back into the kind of Canada we want to live in, a Canada true north, strong and free, a Canada where people do take responsibility for their actions and where politicians don't buy your votes but earn your votes. So thank you very much, Randy, for what you've been doing.
Thanks, Rod. And you mentioned the stress politicians are under. I want to alleviate that stress. I want to see a sign up on this site of 1.32 million Canadians, and those politicians who are really standing tall for Canadians will realize that they're not under pressure. They are positively getting reinforced by millions of Canadians that stand with them. And that's where we need to end up. So that's the goal. And our team is working hard towards it. And every day I'm getting a new volunteer. And right now people are busy building, graphic designers, people that are programmers. We are making this happen.
Thanks, Rod. Thank you so much. And we will have in the show notes the URL links to the Foundational Principles Pledge, fppledge.ca. bcrising.ca, and the Freedom of Information Library.ca. We'll have all those in the show notes so people can click on them. Thank you. You are doing yeoman's service, and I look forward to the days ahead when some of this comes to fruition and we see the page turning onto a brighter future for Canada.
Thank you so much, Rod, for the opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to our continuing friendship and discussions that are so important to move Canada either forward in one's view or back to where we belong as far as a principled perspective is concerned. So look forward to talking again.
Great. And to our viewers and listeners, go to that Foundational Principles Pledge, fppledge.ca. If you are a candidate or an elected representative, please take the Politician's Pledge. And if you are a citizen holding politicians accountable, take the Citizens Pledge. And we're going to see things move in a positive direction. Thanks very much, Randy.
Thanks again, Rod.